Hi, welcome back to Unit 2 Language. This is Lesson 3 Idioms. You'll find this information in your textbook on pages HB 46 through HB 51. Idioms are sayings like a piece of cake, walking on air, or cute as a button. There are thousands of English idioms and idiomatic expressions that are used every day. Most idioms are phrases and sometimes whole sentences whose meaning cannot be understood by knowing the meanings of the individual words. We use idioms because they give a lot of information in a few words and add color and texture to what we say or write. If you're not a native English speaker, a well-chosen idiom also demonstrates your fluency in the language. Some idioms appear more often in conversation than in formal writing, but many will be useful to you in your academic work. When you read or hear a phrase that seems totally unrelated to the topic, you've probably encountered an idiom. That's because idioms are never literal. For example, this Jane Alexander quote, "Influencing Hollywood is a little like herding cats." Cats are notoriously independent and indifferent to following directions, so a difficult, maybe impossible task is said to be like herding cats. As the economy contracts, we Americans are likely to find that we've been living too high on the hog. Ham, ribs, bacon, and other meats that are considered to be the most tasty and desirable are from the upper parts of the hog. People who live extravagantly or luxuriously are sometimes said to be living high on the hog. This internship is not just about class credit. This is about really getting a leg up for when you graduate. When a rider is mounting a horse, another person often supports the rider's left leg while the right one swings over the horse's back. Having a leg up means you've been given extra help or certain advantages. I love to see a young girl go out and grab the world by the lapels. Grabbing the front of a jacket or grabbing someone by the lapels is a firm and aggressive move that aims to take charge of a situation. Idioms seem off or even a little whack if you think about their literal meanings, but knowing where they originated can help you figure out what they mean. Many idioms, for example, originate in sports, music, and animal contexts, where their meanings are literal. Used in other contexts, their meanings are similar, if not exactly literal. When the senator introduced the bill, she thought passage would be a slam dunk since public opinion was strongly favorable. In basketball, a player scores a slam dunk by shoving the ball through a basket in a dramatic way. As an idiom, a slam dunk refers to a victory gained easily or emphatically. George Saunders' commencement speech really struck a chord with the Syracuse graduates. A chord is a group of musical notes that harmonize. To strike a chord with an audience means to make a connection by bringing up something interesting or relevant to them. Some members of Congress think that limiting food stamps will get more Americans back to work. I think they're barking up the wrong tree. This idiom refers to a dog in pursuit of an animal that has disappeared into a group of trees. The dog is barking at one tree, but its prey has climbed up another. To bark up the wrong tree means to pursue the wrong course of action. You can sometimes figure out the meaning of an idiom based on its context, but if you're not sure what it means or how to use it properly, look it up online. Go to www.norton.com/write/field guide links for links to some good sources. The Cambridge Dictionary of American Idioms is a good print source. Idiomatic expressions are words that go together like peanut butter and jelly. You often find them together. You've probably encountered expressions such as with respect to, insofar as, or as a matter of fact, in academic or professional writing. Many of these expressions function as transitions, helping readers follow your reasoning and understand how your ideas relate to one another. You're expected to signal the connections among your ideas explicitly in academic writing. Here are some idiomatic expressions to help you do so. A common phrase people use to shift to something else or to narrow the focus is with respect to or with regard to. These indicate the precise topic you're addressing, such as the global economic situation is much more complicated with respect to certain nations' high levels of debt. Insofar as sets a limit or scope for a statement. Despite her short stature, Bates is the team leader insofar as direction and determination are concerned. In particular, points to something especially true within a generalization. Cosmetic surgery procedures for men have increased tremendously in the last decade. Liposuction and eyelid surgery in particular showed dramatic increases. When giving examples, people often use the phrase case in point to frame an example that illustrates a point. Recent business activity shows a clear trend toward consolidation. The merger of two airlines last year is a case in point. For instance indicates an example that illustrates an idea. Green vegetables are highly nutritious. One serving of kale, for instance, provides the full daily recommended value of vitamins A and C. The phrase in addition introduces a new but related point. Locally grown tomatoes are available nearly everywhere. In addition, they are rich in vitamin C. Along the same lines connects two similar ideas. Many cities are developing parking meter plans along the same lines as the system in Chicago. By the same token, signals a point that follows the logic of the previous point. Insider trading has damaged the reputation of the financial industry in general. By the same token, high-profile embezzlers like Bernie Madoff have eroded the public's confidence in many investment advisors. As a matter of fact, or in fact, signal a statement that explains or contrasts with the previous point. Wind power is an increasingly common energy source. As a matter of fact, wind energy generation quadrupled between 2000 and 2005. Of course, emphasizes a point that is or should be obvious. Fresh foods are preferable to processed foods, of course, but fresh foods are not always available. In any case, or in any event, introduce something that is true regardless of other conditions. The city has introduced new precautions to ensure the election goes smoothly. The results will be closely scrutinized in any event. There are several idiomatic expressions that signal alternatives or conflicting ideas. On the one hand, and on the other hand, are phrases that introduce contrasting ideas or conditions. On the one hand, some critics have loudly rejected reality television. On the other hand, unscripted shows are often received well by the public. Up to a point signals acceptance of part but not all of an argument or idea. The senator's statement is correct up to a point, but her conclusions are misguided. To have it both ways means to benefit from two conflicting positions. Tech companies want to have it both ways, asking the government to be more transparent about its use of user data, while not disclosing that they are using these data for their own commercial purposes. To be of two minds signals ambivalence or validates conflicting ideas. On the question of whether organic food is worth the extra cost, I'm of two minds. I like knowing that the food is grown without chemicals, but some studies suggest that the health benefits are questionable. In contrast, signals a change in direction, or a different idea on the same subject. Large birds, such as crows, can live for more than 10 years. In contrast, tiny hummingbirds generally live fewer than 3. On the contrary, signals an opposite idea or opposing position. Some bankers claim that the proposed mortgage regulations would harm the economy. On the contrary, the new rules would be the most effective means of reinvigorating it. In fact, and as a matter of fact, signal a statement that challenges or refutes a previous statement. Nicholas Carr suggests that Google is making us stupid. In fact, some argue that by giving us access to more information, it's making us better informed. In brief and in short, introduce a short summary of points already established. In brief, the accident was caused by a combination of carelessness and high winds. In other words, signals a restatement or explanation of the preceding idea. Our opposition to the proposal is firm and unequivocal. In other words, we emphatically decline. In conclusion, and in sum, signal the final statement or section of a text. In conclusion, the evidence points to a clear and simple solution to the problem. You'll encounter and use many idioms in business writing, especially ones that come from sports, probably because the competitiveness of the business world makes it easily comparable to sports. For example, a team player is someone who acts in the interest of a whole team or group rather than for individual gain. The best managers are team players, making sure that the credit for success is shared among everyone who contributed to the effort. To cover all the bases comes from baseball, where the fielders must protect all 4 bases against the other team's runners. As an idiom, it means to be thorough, to deal with all aspects of a situation and consider all possibilities. Her report was well executed. It covered all the bases and anticipated all possible counter-proposals. Across the board refers to a large board at a racetrack that displays the names of all the horses in a race. To place an equal bet on every horse is to be across the board. So the idiom refers to something affecting all items in a group equally. Proponents of the new healthcare policy insist that it will reduce costs across the board, from doctor visits to medical procedures to prescription medicines. Many idiomatic expressions are quite informal. These can be used effectively in casual conversation or social media, but they're rarely, if ever, appropriate in academic or professional writing. As with all writing, you need to consider your audience and purpose when you use idiomatic expressions. In a conversation with a friend or family member, you might say, "Let's cut to the chase." But with a business colleague, it might be more appropriate to suggest that you get right to the point, or focus on what's most important. In an email to a friend, you might say something sounds like a piece of cake. With your boss, it might be more appropriate to say it sounds doable or easy to do. On Insta, you might describe an improv show as over the top. In a review for a class, it would be more appropriate to say it was excessive or outrageous. To review idioms, remember that idioms are not literal because literally they make no sense. However, we frequently use idiomatic expressions in our writing, both academic and professional. If you don't know an idiom, look it up, either on the Norton website or in a reference book like the Cambridge Dictionary of American Idioms. That's it. That's all of Lesson 3. And that was not terrible. Don't forget to check Canvas for a quiz, and I'll see you next time for Lesson 4, Words Often Confused. Thanks for stopping by. And thanks to Slides Carnival and Unsplash for their help with my slides. See you next time.